Hi, good morning. This is a Bitcoin morning brief. We have Rodolfo on today, Jimmy, Tone. We are back from the cruise. I will start us off. Jimmy, how's it going? Are you back in Austin?
I am, and I'm working really hard on my book. I am 11 chapters finished. I just need three more, and then I will be done.
That's amazing. And also the Medium post that you put out.
Oh, the one from the cruise. Yeah, we could talk about that maybe a little later when we get to the cruise, because that's always fun.
Perfect. Yes, everybody, we are absolutely going to do a fun recap of this cruise. And Rodolfo, we missed you on the cruise. How's everything going over there?
It's good. We've released the second firmware upgrade for Cold Card. It's available for everybody to download. And had a baby on the weekend, and life has been interesting and busy.
Congrats. Congrats. Oh my God, new Bitcoin baby. Tone, where in the world are you?
I am in Kiev, Ukraine. I bought a new shirt. So you and I bought me one shirt, Leah, and I bought another shirt here in Kiev. I'm buying like one shirt at a time.
That's baby steps, literally.
Yes.
All right.
So your luggage is still lost, just to be.
Oh, it's still lost,
sure.
like fully
Okay.
lost. They message me every 3 days to inform me that it's still lost.
Okay. Awesome.
Oh my God. And it was just because you wanted to give hats as gifts. It was
Yeah,
like the first
it
time
was the only reason why that happened is because I was bringing about a dozen of these hats to give away, and I had the Bitcoin wrap with me. Never again am I gonna carry even like, I don't know, anything. Like I'm not even gonna carry like, if someone is expecting something from me, get it in the mail. There's never again will I bring another hat to anyone again that requires a flight, ever.
we're going straight
And
to
by the way, Jimmy,
Who hurt you, man? Who hurt you?
one of those hats was for you. It was a custom fit hat for you in that bag as well.
Okay, they're on my shit list now. Sorry. Yeah.
I got a carnivory dinner club from you for the best shirt. I'm gonna wear that on tomorrow's show.
I lost all of my Bitcoin Carnivory shirts. I lost all of my Buy the Dip shirts. Yep, I don't have any of them anymore. It really sucks.
I still have some, so I'll bring it to Prague, and you guys can.
Well,
enjoy
it doesn't look like you wore a shirt anyways here, Tone.
Yeah, exactly.
We will get back to this later, guys, at the end of the
The
show.
sun is really shining there.
I don't know how many people commented on how buff Tone is. They're like, damn.
Swole. All right. Well, let's switch to Rodolfo though. Rodolfo, congrats. What's the latest on Cold Card?
Yeah, I was saying we've released the second firmware upgrade. It's free. People can just download it and install it. It's pretty easy. Just you can build it from source if you want. But what's cool about it is that we made it easier for SegWit to work completely offline with Electrum. So, if you want to have a cold storage, might as well be really cold and never be plugged on the USB. So you can get that going now with SegWit on Electrum, which is pretty cool.
When am I gonna get one of these cards, man?
You don't have one yet?
No.
You gotta go to the store and get one, and then let me know, and we'll stuff the bag with a few more things.
No, I tried to order it before, but then like it wanted like credit card information, and it was like cross border, and I just wanted to pay in Bitcoin. I couldn't do it.
No, we take Bitcoin. Yeah, I think Jimmy.
I think we lost Jimmy for a second.
Lost Jimmy.
All right. Well, Jimmy, when you just talk when you're back, and I'll let you know. Oh, there you are.
Oh, you're back.
Sorry about that. I got to figure out what's going on with my internet connection. I've been trying to debug this like DHCP request that keeps popping out of this particular computer. It's driving me nuts. But I'll figure something out.
All right. Well, let's start with our first story. So, U.S. court seizes Lambo, even though it's a Canadian citizen. Crypto millions from dead dark web kingpin. So, this is, I may butcher this, but let me try. Alexandra Kazis, sorry. Although, unfortunately, he did commit suicide. And that was in a Thai prison last summer. So, he was arrested for operating the darknet marketplace Alpha Bay. So this story just talks about a lot of the things that were seized. specifically that he had large, this is what I found interesting as well about this story, is he had large amounts of Bitcoin, Ether, Zcash, and they say Monero, an unspecified amount of Monero. So, Rodolfo, my question to you, we're going to go straight from cold card and a good way to make sure that you have your wallet and keys stored. Yeah, what's a good way that we should be storing our private keys? What did he mess up on? How was everything taken?
So, I mean, oftentimes with this kind of guy, it's like they either make a mistake and they sort of dox themselves. Oftentimes by buying a yellow Lambo, that's like giving out your IP address, you know? It's like young guy, programmer, buys a Lambo. You know, you're essentially just telling the world you probably have Bitcoin. You know, it's very possible, you know, one of the agents sort of like either sort of made him, like entrapped him, or anyways, these guys get caught in a variety of ways. But the key here is, you know, the way not to get doxxed or get your Bitcoins taken is, you know, make sure you have a separate computer that is your node. It has probably Electrum running on it. Don't have any private keys on that. And then you have your cold card set up where your keys are. And then you just use SD cards to transfer transactions between the signing device and the computer. I highly, highly recommend that whichever computer you have that is the computer connected to other nodes be on Tor only. It does not connect via clear connections. So VPN and then Tor on top of that, and you should be good. But yeah, I mean, this is what happens. You know, don't self-dox yourself. I mean, who knows? Maybe this guy was also doing some bad stuff too. We never know.
Thanks, Rodolfo. Jimmy, what are your thoughts on the piece, and also thoughts on the fact that the United States government seized it? We know of a lot of governments that have been seizing Bitcoin, and you know, Bulgaria holds a lot as an example. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the U.S. government should be, you know, like cheering Bitcoin, because this sort of way of accumulating Bitcoin is going to be like a huge boon for them in the future. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how criminals, you know, like they don't have enough discipline to like actually have real OPSEC. Instead, they buy Lambos and stuff like that. But you know, that's you know, they want to show off the fact that they're rich, so they have to go and buy something. It's kind of a sad state of affairs, but that's generally what happens with a lot of criminals and stuff. That said, you know, like as far as seizing, you know, this sort of thing is going to be more and more common. I mean, I'm sure there have been other seizures of things. It's just didn't happen in this particular, you know, this jurisdiction wherever this guy was. It's a little easier to get like, you know, Freedom of Information Act or whatever, and you can go and get them. But yeah, it's kind of a funny story, but you know, it's only really tangentially related to Bitcoin. It's just, you know, the guy happened to operate in that and had, you know, was storing his own wealth in that way. Yeah, I mean, it's more a criminal story, and you know, not like that said, I think it would be so much better if that stuff were legalized, and you know, the market could determine prices and stuff like that, and you don't give people like this money.
Yeah, I think Jimmy's spot on. Like, just a thing to add, it's pretty funny. Is a lot of these guys, probably like a very small part of their net worth got taken by authorities. I guarantee you that a guy like this probably has, you know, like 10, 50 stashes deep of layers where, you know, every time he gets beaten in a prison in Thailand, you know, he'll give up one or two. But I'm certain a guy like that has a ton more that he's going to maybe share with the authorities to get out of jail in a year or two. And that's the thing about, you know, Bitcoin. It's, if you can remember the 12 words, oh man, like you can go deep there in those layers. It's almost inception of money there. Yeah.
Yep.
There's
Yeah,
just no way somebody will ever know how much this guy has.
correct. He was 26 and they said that it was 23 million. So definitely would not be surprised if it was a whole lot more.
Wait a minute. Is this the guy that committed suicide or no?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. This guy committed suicide, so he's not going to be claiming his coins again.
He,
He
no,
probably died of the keys.
he is not. Yes. He did commit suicide, which the piece then continues about the differences with Ross Ulbright's case. So yes, Tone, follow up to the
I'll
boy.
do it real quick. I mean, look, is it worth it to you, right? I mean, look, this guy had $23 million and look how it ended. Like he committed suicide in a Thai prison, right? So is this kind of life worth it to you? Like it's not to me. Like I'm not interested in buying a Lambo, right? Even if I earn my Bitcoin, illegally, I'm still not interested in buying a Lambo. Like I don't want to paint that kind of a target on my back. So that's one thing. And a lot of these people are kids. None of these people have ever had money before. They have no idea how to use money. They have no idea how to spend money. And this is how this happens. And this is why this bubble is coming to an end and why I think prices are going to go lower. Just a quick thing. The guys already pretty much said everything. Obviously, Bitcoin is unconfiscatable, and it's great if you know how to protect it. And most people don't know how to protect it. And the OPSEC is terrible. And in the last 2 days, I've been, all of the Monero trolls are coming out of the woodworks because I'm trying to explain to them how useless Monero is. So Rodolfo, if all of his crypto was in Monero, do you think any of this would have been any different?
So Monero has two problems. Like one is that if Monero is not used the right way, you still kind of can get owned in terms of privacy. And two, Bitcoin has a lot of privacy. If you do coin washing, like it's almost as good on top of the other stuff that's coming around. This guy would have been caught for other reasons. It's not like, even if you know which wallet is owned by who on the Bitcoin, like UTXO set, you still may not find the person, and you still may be not sure what is what. Like coin analytics, like coin analysis to find out people, it's not like precise like people imagine it is. And I guess that's it. I mean, like,
well, so I would say that this guy, it doesn't matter if he buys a Lambo with Bitcoin or a Lambo with Monero, you're going to get caught if you're buying a freaking Lambo.
That's right. I mean, and can we just acknowledge that like committing suicide in a Thai prison is not exactly a thing that doesn't happen. The guy gives the keys. Oh, he committed suicide. I mean, come on, this is a Thai prison.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you read.
And I have to say, like, it's actually not easy to end up in a foreign prison, right? Like it's like U.S. has the most number of people incarcerated in the world. So obviously, it was extradition. Like he got arrested because of what he did. The U.S. got him arrested in Thai prison. He's just waiting for extradition. I think I heard a lot about this guy like last year, and it's just how it is. Like, look, it doesn't matter what crypto you use. None of them are that anonymous because there's still on-ramps, off-ramps for every single crypto. Is there even a hardware wallet that will store your Monero? Probably not. People are like, oh, Bitcoin.
There is not. It's a completely different animal.
The problem is, like, Monero is essentially a like melange of all the possible cryptos they could pick from every goddamn coin they could. So there's simply no way to store all those libraries and do that math in a freaking hardware wallet.
Right. And so basically, yes, your transaction may be, slightly more anonymous than Bitcoin's transaction today, but 90% of everything else you will ever do with your Monero is 100 times less anonymous than Bitcoin is today.
But it's not.
It's harder to protect.
You have to do Monero perfectly. And even doing Monero perfectly, which nobody's doing, somebody did some analysis in the network. Nobody's doing Monero right. And even if you do Monero right, you can still, like, it's not the way, it's not anonymous. That's the reality.
The hard part is that if you're trying to spend Monero, then the merchant has to take Monero.
Exactly.
just like Otherwise, you're gonna have to convert back to Bitcoin and to fiat anyway. So it doesn't. It's like there are no real on ramps to Monero that make it like that make that anonymity actually kind of useful. So yeah, it's kind of a chicken and egg problem at this.
I know it's such like the only anonymity with Monero is when you send it from yourself to yourself. Other than that, you're more open than Bitcoin.
Pretty much because just look at the traffic. I mean, Bitcoin it's anonymity in the numbers. It really is. We're all Spartan.
Interesting. And correct, Tone. Yes, he would have been absolutely extradited to the United States. And I say that because now we're moving to Washington, D.C. So get ready for big Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency industry opens a D.C. lobbying arm. This is the worst title I have ever read. Just putting it out there. Actually, they're opening a lobbying organization, which is called Blockchain Association. It really has nothing to do with Bitcoin, nor is it mentioned, Rodolfo. So anyways, Tone, you with your law show, I'm going to switch this to you first. Do you think that, how will this affect everything happening in Washington?
Oh, man. If only I had like one Bitcoin for every single stupid organization that wants to tell the world what a blockchain is. I'd have more Bitcoin than that Alphabet guy. I mean, this is another ridiculous organization. I don't understand why nobody learned their lesson from the Bitcoin Foundation, which was totally useless and totally irrelevant. They continue to make these lobbying groups. There's almost nobody involved in this lobbying group that knows anything what they're talking about, because they still think blockchain is something you would to, notarize your fish as it comes out of the ocean. I mean, all of this stuff is completely insane. They're gonna just they're just gonna introduce more scammers and try to get them to run their businesses. It's another silly organization. Of course, Coin Center is in charge of it, as they always are. And again, I hated Coin Center at first. Then they were doing a couple of good things, but then they came out on this campaign talking about how Ethereum is not a security, which it obviously is, creating this whole ICO nonsense. And it's just another ridiculous group that's going to probably get most of this stuff wrong. Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. It won't be affected by this. I think this is just, proof of news, as Giacomo likes to say.
The bullshit on this kind of stuff is that what really pisses me off is that they always sandbag Bitcoin, right? So they will sort of defend all these scam coins, all these securities, all these ICOs, and then they use Bitcoin as the scapegoat every time they need, and that's really sort of like the disingenuous part that really pisses me off.
Yeah. Thanks, Rodolfo. And Jimmy, so we already have technically the Digital Chamber of Commerce, which is organized as an association. And to say, though, in DC, as we know, some associations are powerful, the Bar Association being one. However, I would agree with Tone that with the players in this, it does not seem that will be the same way. Do you agree, or what do you think about what they're doing?
Well, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Like, it's a lobbying arm. But do they have like a clear agenda? Maybe make the regulatory stuff like a little easier for the rest of us. I mean, honestly, I don't think this is that significant. As with most regulatory things around Bitcoin, people are going to use Bitcoin regardless. It's I guess to get the right tax treatment and stuff like that. I know Jerry's been working quite hard on this stuff. I mean, it may matter sort of short term, but I'm not in it for the short term. I'm in it for the long term, and I think long term Bitcoin is sort of this train, and the only things that can derail it are like really, really hard math problems or some sort of exploit found using something like that. So I don't know. These things don't concern me too much. It's the sort of thing where 6 months from now, no one's going to remember.
I got a quick last comment because of something Rodolfo said. And that's the thing, right? Like if they only focused on Bitcoin, if they actually admitted that the rest of this shit is pure scams, if they only focused on Bitcoin and tried to help Bitcoin, I would be somewhat okay with these groups, right? But that's not what they're doing. They're gonna spend like 95% of all their time dealing with Ethereum and ICOs and all of these utility tokens and barely ever do anything for Bitcoin. And they're gonna try and legalize all of this garbage. And when it all blows up in their face, Bitcoin is gonna be the scapegoat.
Right. I would completely agree with that. I don't know also why they called it Big Bitcoin, which people, anyone on the show, it's like big soda, big tobacco. It really has nothing to do with Bitcoin.
Bitcoin doesn't care.
None about you don't care. Yeah.
Bitcoin doesn't care. It's like it's a stateless, nationless currency. It's
yeah. And they, just to finish off this story, they, Tone, to your point, explicitly said that what they're trying to push is regulation information about KYC and AML. So that is what they are trying to inform the government about, very specifically regarding crypto and blockchain. And let's put every catch-all phrase that they probably can do. Okay. So thank you, gentlemen. 414 billion Alibaba's Jack Ma. Blockchain needs to target manufacturing industry. So just as a note, Jack Ma recently said that he will be departing from Alibaba. Big news by the end of the year. Well, not the end of the year, but in a year, sorry. So, and we'll see how that's going to shake up Alibaba. So in this story, pretty simply put, he's saying that blockchain is still in its nascency, but that he thinks that the best use case at least will be applying blockchain to the manufacturing industry. And he's really trying to push that. And as well as really a quote that he says later that I'll read, and then I want to hear your thoughts, Jimmy, to start with, is, quote, if the blockchain can be used at a large scale as the primary data processing technology and decentralized database by companies in the manufacturing industry, then decentralized systems will see true mainstream adoption outside of the realm of finance. He is absolutely using our favorite word, decentralization. The question to you that I'm curious about is, do you think, though, in the future, we will see a decentralized system in the manufacturing sector?
No. It's by nature very centralized. So I don't really understand. Like, he's just throwing buzzwords together: Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, blockchain. A lot of these guys like don't know what they're talking about, and they just want to. So they like put a speech together that includes. It's so ridiculous. It's like. It's like it's a technological equivalent of virtue signaling. It's like, oh, I know about Internet of Things and artificial intelligence and blockchain. Like, no, you don't. It's like you don't know anything about that. It's quite frustrating to read these articles because they literally have like zero information. It's all buzzwords. So
yeah, I think Jimmy got it. Like, it's like. It's funny. Why didn't they mention electricity? Like, artificial intelligence, blockchain, electricity. It's like, let's just list things we.
Yeah, I was gonna go with aliens. I
love that they have the acronyms beside each word, like each term there too. It's just you really know it's crappy.
Yeah.
We need one for blockchain.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you know what it is? It's the Bitcoin symbol. It's the D of the Bitcoin symbol, because that's what a blockchain is. If he actually understood what a blockchain is, he would be able to take Alibaba to the next level by accepting Bitcoin from all over the world for payments and then shipping all that stuff all over the world. He might actually be able to compete with Amazon for real.
But Alibaba is like a state-sponsored company, right? I mean, like, those guys have essentially free credit to the government of China, and they just play ball. It's like, of course they don't want Bitcoin on it. Bitcoin and China go in opposite ways.
Right. And to note, right, they decided strategically to list on the New York Stock Exchange rather than in China, which I think was a pretty interesting move. Any last follow-ups on this story?
No, it's just total clickbait. I mean, there is absolutely nothing that Jack Ma understands about a blockchain. And that goes the same for every person running a multi-billion-dollar company, except maybe, you know, the Twitter and Square CEO, right? That's like one of the few exceptions who actually understands this stuff. There's no other CEO managing a billion-dollar company that will understand blockchain. And there's a reason for that, because a CEO of a billion-dollar company is busy. He has no time to understand what a blockchain is, and he probably never will. He's listening to Ethereum scammers explaining to him what the complete stupid and opposite of what it actually is.
Right. And he's, just to note, he's always been very anti-Bitcoin, very promotional on quote unquote blockchain. So to me, this isn't all that new. And Jimmy, we have the latest Lightning Labs releases redesigned and optimized desktop app. What are they up to?
Well, so they have a much more user-friendly app for Lightning, and I believe it's only available on testnet right now, but it looks like a very good wallet. I downloaded it. I haven't really funded it with testnet stuff yet, but I will try it. There's been some traffic on testnet that's been really annoying. I think it's by Jeff Garzik's company or something like that. But basically, it's very clean UI. They did a sprint. They radically simplified everything to make it sort of like auto routing and all this other stuff. I'm curious to take a look at it. Yeah, it's a nice app that's built on top of LND. And, you know, it's similar to Zap Wallet desktop, except, you know, this one's on desktop and more for mobile. So, you know, it's cool. I like to see new tech come in. I mean, is it ready for prime time? Probably not. But you know, it's progress, and there's new releases of this stuff almost every week. You know, like in one form or another, whether it's, you know, Lightning Labs or C Lightning or Claire or Zap Wallet or something. There's a lot of development activity happening in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jimmy. And Rodolfo, any last comments? I guess specifically a question I did want to ask you on this is that at least I've heard that one of the issues for Lightning app is that it's a hot wallet. So I guess users, right, if I understand correctly, private keys are stored in the wallet, not in the offline cold storage. You know, does anything about what Lightning is up to, do you think isn't quite there yet, or recommendations, thoughts?
So it has to be, right? The model requires the keys to be there to sign on demand by others, right? So that's how you open the channel. So I think it's fine. Like, security is always about like what kind of thing you're trying to protect and what kind of model threat you have, right? So with Lightning, we're talking always about smaller amounts of Bitcoin. So just like people keep some amounts on their phones, you know, leaving a few, you know, a little bit of Bitcoin on a channel is also fine. Now, I think that very soon you're going to find, who knows, even devices by us or by somebody else, you'll find purposely made hot hardware wallets, right? So these would be connected to a computer or to the internet directly, but they would be a little bit more hardened, right? That's a very common setup for hardware security modules like we used to have on CoinKite. Essentially, you have a device that signs on demand, but like I said, is hardened. It doesn't really have other services on them, and it has some business logic that allows those signatures to happen. I mean, I'm not a fan of having desktop and keys mixed together because desktops are essentially like it's full of holes. They're Swiss cheeses because of just the complexity of the system. So I think what I'd say is like a great improvement would be just to have a purposeful device, computer, where you have just the node and just the wallet there. You don't have email, you don't have any of your crap running there. That reduces the risk, the attack surface a lot. But still, it's the early days, small amounts, so it's not a big deal.
Right. And just, I guess, one last follow up on when you're saying small amounts. So it does seem as if potentially, though, it's more vulnerable to cyber threat. But at the same time of what you're saying, that since it's a very small amount that it can hold, that it's a very small target at the same time for criminals. So
yeah, I mean, like, think in terms of your wallet on your pocket, right? I mean, I go around on the street with, a specific amount of money that doesn't cross a certain threshold in my wallet, right? Because there could also be loss, not just thefts, right? So, depending on your profile and what's your risk threshold, you put a certain amount that, you feel like it's comfortable to that certain threat level, right? And Lightning, most channels will have smaller amounts. This is not your hodl stash. So it's kind of okay.
Thanks, Rodolfo. Tone. So Novogratz called the bottom in the crypto market. What type of trouble are you getting yourself into with this tweet?
Yeah, I mean, I went completely the other way. I mean, I've been waiting for a lot of these people to keep calling the bottom, and I keep taking, mentally the other side of that trade, and I've been very public about it, and I continue to be right. I don't believe it's a bottom in Bitcoin or all crypto. I think that the altcoins have way more to fall. Ethereum is still unreasonably priced at $200. I mean, it should be going down to $2. And same thing goes for a lot of the other ones. He's using the BGCI, which is a complete and utter joke. I mean, I can't believe Bloomberg is that dumb to actually put some of the stuff like Ripple and Zcash into an index. It's just completely silly. I think he's using a terrible metric. And even by that metric, even when Bitcoin eventually does go to its August high, which Novogratz believes that it has, but in reality, he's only about $1,000 off of where that low actually is. I am expecting that low. There's a small probability that that low will hold. But, guys like him, guys like, the Drapers, a lot of these big money guys that bought into Bitcoin thinking that they're all smart are sitting on, well, what was that article that we covered like about a month or two ago? Novogratz had like an $80-something million paper loss. And if the price of Bitcoin goes down to 5,000, he's probably going to be sitting on $120 million paper loss. And his investors are not going to be very happy. And they might tell him that, hey, we're leaving your fund unless you get your shit together, in which case he might panic sell. So it's guys like Novogratz that are going to eventually panic sell because they got in way too much when they didn't really understand it and why. And I mean, like, again, someone big is going to get hurt. Like 80% are going to get crushed. Now, I don't know if this is the 80% of people that are currently leveraged to the short side and the price will swing up to wipe them out first, or if it's a guy like Novogratz that's going to end up blowing his entire hedge fund because he got into Bitcoin at the wrong time and right into the bear market. And then if he panic sells, if he sells, $100 million worth of Bitcoin because his investors forced him to do it, then the price of Bitcoin can swing from 5,000 down to 2,000 overnight because a guy like Novogratz got out. This will be, of course, a good thing. You will be able to pick up Bitcoin on the cheap. So that's what I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking for, guys like this to be completely wrong and embarrassed on the price of Bitcoin. As long as these guys keep calling the bottom, I'm going to keep saying it's not the bottom. I'm going to be the contrarian. It's worked for me in the past. It's certainly worked in my trading. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, as we've covered in the past, Novogratz's Galaxy has not been doing well. So it seems a bit in alignment with the mess ups that he's been having. I am off screen share for a second. I will pull it back up for the mempool at the end.
We're gonna take a look at Thor. There he is.
He's tired from the cruise. Rodolfo, do you want to stick around as we talk shenanigans about the cruise, or are you going to sign off on us?
I'm going to sign off. I got Crying Baby, and I'm going to let you guys deal with the scammers.
Bye, Bitcoin baby. Bye, Rodolfo. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Later,
Okay,
man.
gentlemen. So you always told me how utterly ridiculous, full of scammers, ICO shills, insanity that these things were, but I didn't at all fully believe that it was this bad. I mean, on every level, it was utterly ridiculous. I will, I guess, chime back in later, having to moderate for McAfee, which was utterly ridiculous. But I counted it up. I was having to moderate 12 hours versus, for the most part, crazies. But
and they stuck you in an interior room. They didn't even give you an ocean view. Oh my gosh.
It was very disorienting when it was so dark. But Jimmy, please start us off. So you started off, obviously, the debate with Roger Ver. So, what happened?
Well, so first of all, that cruise was interesting. I love the fact that like you guys, like I pretty much shut myself off from the world the first 3 days, and only basically showed up to eat steak at that steakhouse. That was
the steaks were good.
Just go eat some ribeyes there and go back to my room and work on my book. This is why I have 11 chapters finished. I think I finished like 3 or 4 on the boat because I basically cut myself off from the
Jimmy's
world.
Audio.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So doing that was interesting, but then I got to the Roger thing, and I don't think people saw in the video that he was he brought his like TMZ crew and like sort of ambushed me like 20 minutes before the actual debate, and like tried to get everything on camera. He's totally sea lioning and being like, I'm being very polite here. You're getting really upset. I'm like, yeah, there's like 20 of you guys like all like surrounding me with like bitcoin.com and bitch please t-shirts, and like try to like tell me like you don't want you want to do everything else differently. Like I talked to him like the first day I ran into him in the hallway, told him about the format of the debate. I talked to his staff, like a bunch of the bitcoin.com people, like the day before. Somehow he still didn't hear about like the format of the debate or whatever. And he doesn't contact me at all. He just sort of shows up and goes, so what are we going to do? It was just an incredibly frustrating thing because I wanted to elevate the conversation, but instead he wanted to keep it like sort of at the low level Jerry Springer type TMZ style, low level. Let's talk about people and how to credit them or discredit them or whatever, instead of, like ideas and what these things represent and how they're done or whatever. Instead, it's I've read more books than you.
On that, like that was utterly ridiculous. He was like, well, have you read the Keynesian book blank 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 blank?
And he tried to spin it in his own way. After I answered, I refused to answer that question because that's so stupid. It's about ideas. You really want to talk about reading Keynes's general theory? Like that to him is like I've read parts of it where it's like animal spirits that just sort of like appear out of nowhere. It's not a book worth reading. It's so ridiculous that I have no interest in reading this giant tome of insanity. It'd be as useful as reading Mein Kampf or something like that. I don't really care, right? And he's like going up and saying, well, look, how do you know about Austrian economics or Keynesianism unless you've read the original sources or something like that? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. He wants to appeal to his own authority. That was just really massively frustrating because it was such a transparent way to try to discredit me and credit himself. It's like something that politicians do all the time, which is why I don't pay attention to politics, by the way. It's ridiculous. So it was just a very frustrating thing for me. And of course, like what went viral is like the first minute or two when he's trying to, I'm just introducing the freaking format. You don't need a minute. You have time. And then like he goes up and like takes 30 seconds for his rebuttal. You could have introduced yourself right there. What the hell? So it was, anyway, it was quite frustrating. I'm probably never going to do that again. All the people that warned me about this were absolutely right. It turned out to be like like pigs wrestling in mud instead of like a Lincoln Douglas debate that I wanted. So what can you do?
Right. He very much reminded me of a politician, to your point. It just seemed like a politician. And yes, the Lincoln Douglas style debate, that did not happen. Yeah. And that would have been a very interesting way to go about it.
Well, he didn't really have anything to say because, I gave all these arguments and he's like, I look forward to refuting every single one of them during question and answer time. It's like, okay, I just told you for 10 minutes how you're completely Keynesian and like insulted you in every possible way as far as your, economic philosophy goes. And that's all you have to say. Like tells you all like whatever book you've read, you haven't read them closely enough because like that, if I told that to any Austrian economist, they would be horribly, horribly offended and would have had something to say. Instead, he said, that's just a bunch of nonsense in a not very convincing way. It's, at least that's how I read it.
Well, and just one last question on it, just for everybody. So the thesis you were making, in my understanding, was that Bitcoin Cash is fiat money. So can you just give us like a quick overview of what this debate was supposed to be about?
Yeah, I mean, my contention was that it's centrally controlled. It's fiat money. It's money sort of like made by authoritarian diktat than anything backed by anything, than being backed by anything. And that's the argument I made. I thought I made a pretty good case. I put it all up on Medium. And I've been looking for critiques of it. I think Chris Pacia has one, but pretty much everyone else is like fixated on how quote unquote rude I was or childish I behaved or something like that. I mean, like, I don't really care about that commentary. That's not substantive critique. So for me, those don't matter at all. Chris's, I haven't read yet. It's an extremely long piece on users.org. I'm actually going to have to go on that site to go read it. But pretty much like, there's not, like people like are quibbling with the definition of fiat. Oh, you can't convert it into specie, like metal specie. That's not the only definition, guys. There's like 4 different definitions of fiat money. I meant fiat money in the sense that it's centrally controlled and created by somebody, and they get to dictate what happens to it. That's the argument I made. Not many people actually, responding to the substance, which tells you all you need to know about the Bitcoin Cash people and how they view it. Other than Chris Pacia, I'll go take a look at that and read it, and respond if appropriate. But pretty much everyone else, it's look how childish Jimmy is, therefore he's discredited. You can say that all you want. People generally tend to be a little bit smarter with their money, and that sort of argument that doesn't generally go very far. You're discredited because you said a word wrong or something like that. It's a ridiculous argument.
Yeah, the amount of marketing that he put into that cruise, wow. There was.
All of his employees got on for free. I don't know how much does a cruise like that cost, guys? I haven't been on too many.
It was like $3,500 for a cabin or something.
Okay, all right. So it's like $3,500 per employee. He said.
Well, no. I'm sure there were 2 to. You can do it's double occupancy, right? I'm sure they got stuff.
So $3,500 per 2 people. He brought 8 people, plus he had that giant Bitcoin.com banner.
It really felt like it was more than 8 people. It really felt like
he claimed it was 8 employees. There were way more than that, I felt like. But I don't know. Like, let's just take him at his word and say it's 8 people plus himself. That's like, at least 5 cabins. That's, $20,000 plus the sponsorship. That's got to be, well, I don't know. Maybe they included it as part of the sponsorship. If you give $50,000, then you can bring so many people on for free or something like that. Plus all the merchandise. And he was giving away like $50 in Bitcoin Cash to whoever wanted to download his wallet from Bitcoin.com or something. So, I mean, it's a lot of money. He's spending a lot of money on marketing. More power to him if that works for him. But
Jimmy, try to pick him up on his bet. You know, you lock up to.
We're negotiating, and we're so the one thing that he made it clear was he wants to be $1 million US at the resolution of the bet. He doesn't want the thing to be denominated in Bitcoins or Bitcoin Cash. He wants it denominated in US dollars. As long as he gives me the early termination clause, then I'm fine with that. And the early termination clause that I want is if at any point, according to like CoinCap.io or something like that, the 24-hour VWAP is volume weighted average price is such that 200 Bitcoin Cash is less than 1 Bitcoin, or 200 Bitcoin is less than 1 Bitcoin Cash. I want the bet to terminate, and whoever has the more valuable coin gets the money within 200 days within 30 days with the denominated in US dollars. If he agrees to that, then I'm good. He hasn't responded to that. I'm gonna guess that he's going to like find some excuse or something like that and say, I don't want to bet that way, or he's trying to think up a way to spin it so that he can justify not doing it in that particular way. Because I think he knows that there's a very good chance that Bitcoin Cash goes down very, very low. But yeah, I mean, he's fine. Like in 10 years, who knows where the US dollar will be? It'll have inflated a significant amount by then and everything else. So he's
right.
probably.
I think you guys should come up, because he says that Bitcoin Cash is going to be worth more than a Bitcoin in the.
Yep, that's what he wants to do, but he wants the bet to resolve 10 years from now.
So what you guys should do, you should come up with X number of tokens. You lock up that number of Bitcoin Cash. He locks up the same number, but of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I would be fine with that, but that's not the bet he wants to do. Again, he's the one that offered the bet, but I mean, he wants to make it so that he doesn't have to pay out for a very long time. And
no, I think he wants to make it so that you have to hedge your position in fiat now and hence sell your Bitcoin.
No, I mean, I'm fine taking that kind of risk for over a 10-year period, but I want that early termination clause because at that point, there's multiple ways to resolve the bet instead of having to track down Roger in 10 years. So
true. So Tone, then you jumped on stage shirtless, mic'd yourself up.
Right. Actually, that was totally unnecessary. I don't think Jimmy even recorded that mic, but it made it look cooler. But no. After I saw how ridiculous like the circus that Roger turned your debate into, I needed to make it a bigger circus, and hence I wanted to debate him in a bathing suit, because that's the only way to even out the odds here. And I got him really frustrated around the 12-minute mark in our debate. I mean, when I accused Roger of causing the shitcoin pump by diversifying into altcoins, he was really frustrated, and it showed. I mean, he went. You got to watch that. So Jimmy, on my YouTube, there was just only my debate. I started right as I come on stage. Just watch it from about a 12-minute to 14-minute. Just watch those 2 minutes where Roger went. I got him really heated with a couple of comments.
Yeah. I saw a lot of that. I have just my debate with Roger on my channel as well. But yeah, it's just he did lose it a little bit, and in particular, I think there's like a meme going around. Saying, I made Bitcoin popular, and I'm gonna do it again with Bitcoin Cash. Like he's sort of taking credit for all of Bitcoin's success there. It's I don't know. That sounds very megalomaniac, right? Like it's I think that's what that meme is called, megalomaniac Roger. So. I don't know. It's this. It's hard to argue with something like that and debate them. And this is why nobody really wants to debate Roger. Despite all the sea lioning and all that stuff. We'll see where people will end up with their opinions of Bitcoin Cash. I think the market's pretty clear. I think, right? What's the price right now? It's like below 0.07, right?
It dropped like 9% in 24 hours too. I was having fun with that.
Yeah, I'd like to take credit for that. No,
Yeah, me too.
Well, John, last question because you were bringing up alt. So my first question on stage to Roger, you were there for that one, was specifically, if I remember exactly, it was Roger. Please break down your crypto portfolio by percentage, making clear Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Curious on your of what his answer was, but also in your debate with him, and I have this on my Twitter profile. A lot of people got nicely upset about it. Is that, and I quote, he said, "I would gladly switch to another cryptocurrency and start promoting that." So, and we put, so in other words, leave Bcashers holding the bag once he converts his stacks, right? So, what did you think about when he was talking about that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty bad. I mean, he's basically saying that, like, he'll decide, which currency. Like that's not what store of value is, right?
Well, he thinks that he's the reason for Bitcoin's success. He thinks he's the reason for Bitcoin Cash's quote unquote success. Like, I'm really curious, like, if he wants to go over to Zcash or Monero or something, whether those communities would even accept his help, right? They'd be like, can you not promote us? We're not associated with you. We don't want you to say that Zcash is the new, is the real Bitcoin or something ridiculous like that. I'm actually really curious what would actually happen. We do have this like November 15th thing with Craig Wright versus Jihan. So
right, that's the hard fork stuff. But actually, Roger can actually claim he's the reason for Zcash success because he was one of the private the raisers. Roger is getting paid from the Zcash mining siphoning, right? Roger was one of the founders of Zcash because Zcash is a private company issuing a currency, and Roger gets to keep a piece of the 20% they are siphoning from the miners. So he can actually claim that he is responsible for Zcash's success.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but I'm really, really curious what happens because I'm not sure the rest of the Zcash community would necessarily welcome him with open arms like he thinks. Like, I don't know, maybe he ends up going to like sort of like one of those coins that isn't getting that much press or doesn't have that big of a community, maybe like Zero Coin or Bitcoin Private or something like that. But I can't imagine too many communities being willing to take him and say, okay, well, we have Roger advocating for us. I mean, other than maybe wanting their price to pump because, he'll go in on it more significantly, I would imagine, if he were promoting it. But I don't know, man. It's the sort of thing like that he can say, but it takes two to tango. I'm not sure these communities would necessarily accept them.
EOS and Aurora Coin are favorites.
Well, I think the pattern among the coin choices that he makes is he wants privacy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure like whatever implementation of Mimblewimble, they're gonna be like, Roger, please stay away. Like, you're not welcome here. Like I can't imagine Monero people doing that either, like saying, oh, welcome, Roger, like you need to be a part of our community. Maybe Zcash. I seriously doubt that too. There's Zero Coin and Bitcoin Private, and
they'll all accept them. He owns Bitcoin.com, right? They're more than happy if he starts saying Monero is the Bitcoin, right? Well, like he owns Bitcoin.com. It's still the most popular site for obvious reasons, because it's simply because of the Bitcoin.com. So of course, any community will accept them because they want the PR. And good or bad. There's no such thing as bad news, right? There's just news.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he might. I'm skeptical of that. There's a lot of principled people in those communities that would just be like, okay,
really?
Maybe
you sure comes
in. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? You want to take that comment back? Principled people in the altcoin community? Really?
There are some. Yeah, of course. I think the work that Monero does is at least very interesting, and they want to get the confidential transaction stuff right. And you know, I mean, like, yeah, I don't think they'll beat Bitcoin by any means or anything like that, but they're doing interesting research. As far as, you know, like them accepting Roger, I don't know. I don't think so. Like, there's a lot more competition there, and a lot of you know, I would be very surprised if they did, and I'm happy to take my words back if that ends up happening, and that might, right? Like November 15th, you have a giant hard fork ready in Bitcoin Cash. That's going to be sort of a day of reckoning for a lot of people.
Yeah, you know what? Let's keep an eye on that, because Roger played it down completely, and if that is a big deal, let's make sure that comes back.
Well, we should totally have a show. You know, the 8-hour show that we did.
Yeah, let's see. Let's keep an eye on the news, and if it deserves a show. If it looks like something is going down, I haven't really kept up with it. So
I mean, it looks like it's going down. They already have Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, like, as a repo and everything. It might end up like 2x, like where they cancel it like the week before or something like that, or it might end up like Bitcoin ABC, where like it actually does that, and then we like wait closely for blocks and then see what happens with futures and all of the, like, you know, I'm sure every exchange will stop deposits of Bitcoin Cash like the week before. They've been through this drill before.
Dude, I can't wait for that. I can't wait till there's no transactions for like a 48-hour period on Bcash. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, and Purse won't be able to take it. You know, all of these merchants that, like, I don't think anyone will be able to use yours.org or whatever. Anything running on Bitcoin Cash will have to come to a grinding halt because of the hard fork situation.
Right, and that hard fork is actually going to be 50-50 for real. So that's going to be hilarious.
Well, who knows? Like, mining power wise, you have like at least 23% committed to Craig's thing. And then who knows where the rest of it goes. But we know that Jihan controls a significant amount, and he's with Bitcoin ABC people. So, I mean, I mean, I'm more morbidly curious than anything else. I don't think it affects Bitcoin at all, but, you know, we'll have to keep track of it.
So I'm going to throw up the mempool really quickly. Tone, I have one last question for you and everybody else. That was my final question to Roger on stage, was specifically which one was he going to support to try to mess him up. That one he skirted incredibly quickly. Tone, my last question is just, so I don't speak Russian. That is not a language I speak. So I had a bit of a difficulty understanding the organizers, and it seemed to be like 250 Russian women that were helping with Coinsbank. They were very helpful. What did you think?
No, I thought they were fairly helpful. I believe it was only 100
working girls. They were working hard.
They were.
Weren't they Ukrainian, not Russian? Just
yeah, they were mostly Ukrainian.
Yeah.
And I am in Ukraine now, and
they seem really tall. You know,
them,
and they were wearing like really high heels.
I think their sole purpose there was to get guys that happened to bring girls onto the cruise in a lot of trouble.
Yes, they seem very, you know, attractive, and for some reason they didn't know anything about blockchain or Bitcoin or anything about the conference, but they were all there. That was interesting. Yeah.
Tom's not gonna answer anymore. No. I'll take you off screen share. Don't.
I got myself in trouble enough on the quiz.
Oh, did you? Okay.
No, not like that. There's not gonna be any TMZ videos on Tone other than the one on stage.
Jimmy mempool before we go to TA.
Yeah, so you can see that it's sort of the normal pattern that we've been seeing day to day for about 6 months now. It's the mempool clears every night, like every 10 minutes. But, you know, towards the morning during business hours, at least in the US, it looks like it operates roughly on Eastern Standard Time. Right around 8:30, 9 o'clock, you see a spike there, and then there's like another batch. It managed to clear all the way at around 10:30. But then it's starting to go up again. You know, if you need it next block right at this moment, you're gonna have to probably pay around 20 Satoshi per byte. But if you can wait like even like few hours, you could probably get it in for 1 or 2 Satoshi per byte. And that's been the case for the last 6 months. All of these people that are complaining about fees and stuff like that, their arguments are at least 9 months old at this point. And I love how they keep complaining. Like Roger had a tweet yesterday about how, Bitcoin fees were $55 back in December. And like, as if it's like, if it's like an endemic problem. Last 9 months have been pretty much, like 1 Satoshi per byte, you could get it in. That said, it's okay if it gets higher, as long as you're utilizing it as a store of value, which is what the vast majority of people utilize it for. But if you need to use it to pay somebody or use it as a method of payment once in a while, totally fine. But this is very clear from looking at the mempool statistics. You should be good to go.
Thanks, Jimmy. All right. Do we have you on for TA?
Well, no, I gotta go. I do have a live show coming up later this afternoon. I'm gonna do live Q&A because I feel like I haven't really done a live show just myself with my audience. So I am going to have that. There's also a carnivory dinner we're setting up. I'll probably have the Eventbrite set up for Prague in the next couple of days, and we'll start promoting it. My seminar is still happening in Prague. You can sign up for that. You're outside of the early bird window, but you're still in the discount window. So there's that, and there's of course scholarships available for Prague. So if you want to show up, that would be great. I believe the Hackers Congress is actually sold out, so you can't go to that, but you can still come to our carnivory dinner, and we will be selling a limited number of tickets. You can get one of these awesome shirts, Bitcoin Carnivory Club, and that'll be fun. And we had a lot of fun on the cruise doing that. We had a lot of fun in Chicago doing that, in San Francisco doing that. You guys did it in DC. It's the best part of a conference without the ICO pitches, without the actual talks, without stupid panels on blockchain. You just get to do the best part, which is connect to other people that are like-minded. So, it's a great way to connect. It's a great way to network. Hopefully you guys can join.
Well, and I will put you on the spot, Jimmy. Jimmy ate 3 16-ounce steaks each dinner. I mean, it was like, I've never even seen this. 3.
Oh, not only that, I had 2 things of bacon, and I also
plus the appetite.
half of Tatiana's. I think it was
filet mignon.
Yeah, filet mignon, and I had some of the tuna tartare that came as the appetizer. Yeah. So I mean, that was the only meal I ate that day, and I did that like pretty much every day on the cruise. But hey, I ate a 72-ounce steak. 48 isn't that much.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. Bye, guys. Oh, this song is done.
Exactly. All right, Tone. I think we lost Thor, so let's wake him up with some price.
There he is. Did he miss you?
Yeah, I missed him. He's such a goofball. He looks so silly. He doesn't fit. I gotta get him a new chair.
I know, you gotta get like a love seat now.
Okay, get him off the screen.
All right, hey guys. So my Amsterdam. Oh, another seat's taken. I have 25 seats left for Saturday for Amsterdam. Sunday is all sold out. Saturday is still open. So much demand for Amsterdam that I have to add another day. After that, I'm off to Chiang Mai, Singapore, and Australia. Australia is going to have 4 workshops: Perth, Melbourne, and Sydney and Brisbane. I'm doing all of your top 4 cities. Adelaide maybe next year. If Australia does really well, I'll probably be back there annually to do more workshops. And hey, if you guys like this show and want to support, please check out the affiliate section along with my Amazon tech recommended gadgets, or just click on any of these gadgets and do your Amazon shopping from there. And that helps support this network. Okay, so I did a price show this morning, so nothing's changed. I talked about the monthly chart in the morning, so please go back to that. Talked about the hyperwave in the morning, please go back to that. I talked about that in the morning. Let's get to the actual real chart. Okay, so prices have pulled back up. When I was doing the show this morning, we were literally at the lows. We were at 6240 or something, right? The low for the last 24 hours has been 6200. We were probably close to 6200. So when I did this show, it was like 1 a.m. Eastern time, and we were right at the lows. We've pulled back up a little bit, but not much has changed. You're still looking at a descending triangle, and this descending triangle is pretty nasty. So I don't know when this descending triangle breaks to the downside. As a trader, the most optimal time for this triangle to break down would be the first week of October. That would match the 2014 bear market beautifully and create some good trading opportunities. Now let's take a look at the daily chart. As I said this morning, in order for the daily chart to give you a tradable event, you needed the current day to start trading below yesterday. It did not do that. So now you need to, because this candle only has about 5 hours to go, or maybe a little more. It's almost noon in New York. So you're probably going to have to wait till tomorrow's candle, right? So if tomorrow's candle starts trading lower than today's candle, that creates a beautiful short play on a daily chart. Your stop loss would remain at 6,600, the swing high, but the daily chart has not yet turned into a short trade. Here is the 12-hour chart, and the 12-hour chart really needed to close below the setup trend line. As you can see, the green dotted line, the setup trend line, was able to bounce the price. And as I said, the 12-hour chart gave you a short trade as of 64.10, but because we went all the way to 6,200, you can either take some profit or at least set a break-even stop. The break-even stop has not yet been hit. If I was in this trade, I would lower the break-even stop to the high of the current 12-hour candle because I wouldn't want to risk it and I would want to take some money off this trade. And let's see, it's very likely that the high is in and prices have a high probability of reversal, breaking the setup trend line. And as this morning I wrote down, this would be my double down line if we go below this line. And you can see the short interest is really starting to taper off, which is a good sign for the bears that the market could actually go down significantly. And so the 4-hour chart has price flipped to a green 1, which means the short trade should no longer be on the table, and consider re-entering that short trade once the opportunity presents itself. Here is the short versus long interest. It doesn't look like much, and we're still at the lows. Again, I described it more this morning. Ethereum, I mean, again, when Bitcoin goes up, shitcoins go up more. When Bitcoin goes down, shitcoins go down more. Oh, here's the S&P 500 weekly. As you can see, we are having a great day today. So as I said before the market opened at 1 in the morning last night, I made it clear that if the current candle starts trading above yesterday's candle, that's a buying opportunity for the S&P 500. And today looks like a beautiful day in the stock market. Look at that. So I would honestly, I mean, you still have a lot of time to go. I would let this play out. Normally, I would never enter a trade on a 5 above a 4. But the weekly looks clean. The weekly looks like it's ready for another run. It looks like it's gearing up for a run to 3,000. I would honestly be a little bit cautious here. I would wait until tomorrow, or maybe I would wait for a daily 9 to play out later this week, have a little pullback, and then buy next week. So I would be a little cautious on the S&P 500. I still think we're going to go to 3,000. I am not expecting a crash in the market anytime soon. And I like it here, but I would be a little patient for next candle because the daily 9 is coming up. Gold is not really doing anything. We'll talk about it next time. Silver is probably not doing anything either. We'll talk about it next time. Apple stock, we talked about Apple stock this morning. Let me see how Apple stock opened today. And like I said, I would not want to be in Apple stock now. Look at this beautiful weekly 9 calling the top. And inside that weekly 9, we had a daily 9. It didn't stay as a 9. It converted to a 1, but it took place the same at the day after the ultimate top. So like I said this morning, below this red line, Apple stock should probably dip somewhat hard. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. And we also talked about TSG. Whoever found the 913 perfect bottom right here, I did say that this reversal candle made me a little bit nervous, but this would have been a nice profitable trade. I'd probably take my stop loss right here, take the small gain. I probably would have done it early this morning as well. I'll wait and I'll see if we go below the low, this is trading. If you go below 23.50, this thing is probably going way lower for another countdown. And this was only a 1 to 4 candle correction and continuation of the downside. But if it reverses, if we reverse without touching 23.50 and we get back to above $25, I think this can easily run up to 30 bucks. So right now, even though I probably would have taken the trade right off the 913, I would have taken my small gain and now I would wait. So this stock has just fallen into a no trade zone, and I would wait either for 25 and go bullish or for 23.50 and go bearish. Okay, this is how you use the sequential system. All right, that's pretty much it. Tomorrow, I am speaking at the Smiles Expo blockchain and Bitcoin event here in Kiev. Next weekend, I am off to Riga for Hodl Hodl. The week after that, I will be in Amsterdam for Bitcoin Wednesday and 2 days of my workshop. After that, I am off to Prague to speak along with Jimmy and Giacomo, but no longer Leah Wald, because she has something more fun in mind that weekend. I don't know if you want to tell people what it is. And but we will miss her. But I will be in Prague, and then I'm back in Ukraine to talk at the Hackett conference. And then I'll spend some time in Thailand. I don't know if there's any conferences there. And after that, there's a couple of events in Singapore. And in between the Singapore events, I will be all over Australia. So that's pretty much it for me. And back over to you.
Thanks. You put me on the spot there. All right, this was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun. Everybody should check out all the shenanigans that we have videos of across our Twitter sphere, Twitter leaders, as Tyler likes to say. Especially with McAfee, with everybody, it was crazy fun for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and feel free to comment on Tone Without a Shirt. That was also fun.
He's not speaking to me, by the way. He's speaking to all you guys live viewers. And everybody have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. And you can listen to this later on the audio podcast. Bye.
Bye, guys. See you all in the next